And here is the real question for you. How many times have you delegated something only to get it back uglier than when it left? Drop the number and be honest. I say this because mine used to be all of them. Because here is the thing nobody tells you about delegation. The delegation without architecture is just task relocation. The task moves and the dependency does not.
It was the worst year for a lot of us for our mental as well as physical health. So joining us this morning is best-selling author, coach Lisa Goldenthal.
Hello and welcome. I'm Lisa G, your host. You're at the top of your game, yet the game is changing faster than ever. Strategies that got you here aren't the ones that'll keep you here. The pressure is relentless, and the fear of obsolescence looms large. That's why I'm here. Welcome to the new podcast series, Disrupted: How to Be Gritty and Unlock Performance in Business, Mindset, Wellness, and Success to help you master disruption.
Thanks for coming, and we'll see you soon.
Stop delegating and start architecting. So let's jump in. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Here is the thing. Every leadership book, every productivity framework, and every business coach telling you to delegate more, they've been giving you the right advice for the wrong problem. And tonight, in just 5 minutes, I'm going to prove it. But first, it's Lisa. Hello and welcome. Drop live or replay and where you're tuning in from. I am back in Kennewick where the bunnies are hopping around. It feels like spring is in the air. And share this right now because someone in your network is currently drowning in quick question. And here is the real question for you. How many times have you delegated something only to get it back uglier than when it left? Drop the number and be honest. I say this because mine used to be all of them. Because here is the thing nobody tells you about delegation. The delegation without architecture is just task relocation. The task moves and the dependency does not. And the reason why is because the system never changed. So then the task usually comes back with confusion and missing details or another quick question or my personal favorite, hey, just wanted to run this by you real quick, which, as you know, is never real quick ever. And then what happens? You fix it yourself again, which therefore reinforces the belief if I want it done right, I have to do it myself. So your team learns something dangerous. Everything eventually roots back to the leader. And that is not a people problem. And that is not a talent problem. That is an architecture problem. And until you fix the architecture, delegation will keep failing every single time. So drop yes if this has described any company that you've worked for or currently are experiencing. I want to hear from you. And by the way, most businesses are not scaling. They're just increasing the number of people waiting on the leader. Do you agree? Funny? Not funny. Because from the outside, it looks successful. But internally, you cannot unplug without wondering what is breaking. And that's dangerous. And that is the trap. How do I know this? I have been there myself. So let's jump into the 3 shifts that actually make delegation work. Write these down. Are you ready? Tip number 1, delegate outcomes, not tasks. When you delegate tasks, you still own the thinking, which means when something breaks, it comes back to you. But when you delegate outcomes, you transfer ownership, which is great for employee engagement and loyalty. So here's the change. Instead of, can you do this? Try, I need this result by Friday. How you get there is your call. That creates the ownership. And that simple shift changes the entire power dynamic. You stop being the doer and you become the architect and create loyal, engaged employees. So drop tasks or outcome. Which are you delegating now? And remember, delegate outcomes, not tasks, is tip number 1. And tip number 2 is systematize before you solve. Here's the rule. Every time something lands on your desk that should not, don't just fix it. Pause and ask. What system failed that allowed this to reach me? Because if you solve the issue before you solve the system, you'll keep solving the same problem forever. Do you agree? That is why so many leaders feel trapped. Certainly not because they're incapable, because they became the backup plan for a broken process. Most leaders spend their day reacting to interruptions, and that is instead of removing the causes of the interruptions. And eventually, the business trains itself to escalate everything upward. And that, my friends, is exhausting. Not because you lack discipline, obviously, but because the company keeps routing uncertainty back to you, which is big difference. And tip number 3 is install a leadership operating system. Here's the truth nobody wants to admit. If the business only works when you are fully active, you do not own a business. You own a dependency. And with summer coming up, we don't want that. And the terrifying part, from the outside, it looks successful. But internally, you can't unplug without wondering what is breaking. Anybody else? That is the trap. Because delegation does not fail from lack of effort. It fails due to lack of architecture. Drop system if you agree. Most leaders are still operating as the decision maker, the emotional regulator, the quality control, and the emergency backup plan. And that is not leadership, my friends. That is professional firefighting. A real business needs an operating system. That is why inside Boss OS, we focus on 4 things first: emotional command, energy, mindset, and self-leadership. Because every business eventually inherits the emotional patterns of its leader. If the leader lives in urgency, the company certainly will too. And if you're still the operating system, the business can never scale beyond you. That is the real bottleneck. So it's not delegation, it's architecture. Churchill once said, however beautiful the strategy, You should occasionally look at the results. Most leaders have a beautiful delegation strategy and terrible delegation results. And here's why, because the architecture underneath was never designed to scale. So fix the architecture and delegation finally works. Not occasionally, consistently. So here's what I want you to do. Number one, share this with one leader who keeps taking things back that shouldn't belong to them anymore. And you know exactly who I mean. The one answering Slack messages at 11:30 p.m. because it's just faster if I do it myself. Anyone? Second, drop below what keeps boomeranging back onto your desk. What is the thing that your business should be able to handle without you by now? And mine used to be everything. I read every comment, so let me know your thoughts and we'll recap the 3 shifts because this is the whole game. Number 1, delegate outcomes, not tasks. So stop owning the thinking for everyone else. Number 2, systematize before you solve. And here's why. If the same problems keep reaching your desk, the problem is not the person. The problem is just a missing system. And the third one, install a leadership operating system. Because if you are still the operating system, the business can never scale beyond you. That is the real bottleneck. So it's not delegation, it's architecture. And if you're serious about fixing the bottleneck permanently, I want to hear from you. Send me a message, MAP. I'll help you identify the exact leadership gap, keeping execution dependent on you. I'm Lisa G, and you did not build a business just to become the emergency contact for everyone in it. Onward. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you, whether you're live or on the replay.